In this tutorial, I'll be giving you a basic overview of the Divi Builder portfolio module. The portfolio module is used to display a gallery of your recent portfolio projects. So whether you're a photographer, web designer, graphic designer, artist, the portfolio module is a perfect way to display your most recent work. Here's an example of the portfolio module in grid format, and it displays your basic projects, and if you were to click on any of these projects, it would take you to the individual project page, which you can then customize with the Divi Builder as well. So here's the portfolio module in grid format. Here's another example of the grid format in a full column, one column row. Now you can also use the full width portfolio module inside of a full width section. So if you want to make a portfolio that expands the entire width of the page, you can use a full width section and the full width portfolio module, as you see here, in a full width grid format. And we also have a carousel version when using the full width portfolio, and you can see the example of the carousel here. So you can kind of slide through all your basic projects horizontally like this, which is really cool. So yep, there's 4 examples of how the portfolio module and full width portfolio module can be used. And so now I'm going to jump into how to actually create portfolio items and then how to use the portfolio module. So before you can actually use the portfolio module, you first need to create projects. Now, whenever you install the Divi Builder or the Divi theme, a new post type will be registered called projects. And so if you go over to your WordPress dashboard, you'll see there's a new link here called projects. And projects are just like posts and pages. They're just a different kind of post, a different post type. And they're separated just so that Divi knows that, not to display your blog posts inside the module. It only displays your projects. So it's just a way to separate them and keep things nice and organized. And like I said, before you can use the portfolio module, you first have to create projects. So you can see I've created various projects here. And for each of these projects, you want to be sure to define a featured image, which you can do down here. And as you can see, the featured image is what's used within the gallery of the portfolio module. And then you can also kind of build out these projects using the builder. So once someone clicks on any item, they'll be brought to this page, and you can kind of showcase the work in whatever way you see fit. So a great way to use the portfolio module would be, for example, if you're an artist and you have like an About Me page, you might want to display some of your recent work so that your visitors not only learn about you as a person, but learn about the work you're creating. So I'd like to add a portfolio module to this page at the bottom. So I'm going to edit the page, and at the bottom I'm going to add a new section. I'm just going to use a 1-column row. And I'm going to click the Insert Modules button and look for the Portfolio module, which is right here. Once you click that, you'll be greeted with the various portfolio module settings, and as with any Divi Builder module, these settings are separated into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general rule of thumb, everything you need to create a really great page in the Divi Builder can be found inside the General Settings tab. But if you want even more control over the module, over the appearance of the module, then you can venture into the Advanced Design Settings, which has customization options for every single element within the module, and you can customize absolutely everything, from colors to font sizes to fonts to spacing. You can do everything here. And if you happen to be CSS savvy, well, you can also just apply your own custom CSS to the module or individual elements within the module right inside this tab. And I have some great tutorials about how to use the Advanced Design Settings and Custom CSS, so be sure to check that out. And in this tutorial, I'm really just going to focus on the General Settings. So going back to the General Settings tab, the first setting is the layout. And you have 2 options, full width and grid. Full width will display your items the entire width of the column, whereas grid will break it down into different column sizes. For example, in a 1-column row, you're going to get a grid of 5 images. So if I switch to grid, which will look nice, and next up is the post number, which will decide how many posts are actually displayed. So you might want to limit it just to, 10 posts. Maybe you have 100 projects. You don't want to show them all. That would make your page unreadable. So maybe we just want to limit it to 10 to show your most recent work. And you can also limit it to certain categories. If you only want to display certain categories, you can do that. Perhaps, this particular portfolio module is limited to your photography and not your web design or your graphic design. Or you can categorize your projects and limit what's displayed. If you don't select any categories, then just everything will be displayed, which is fine with me. So in this case, I'm just going to display everything in this portfolio module. Next up is you have the ability to show titles. So whatever title you give the project will be displayed below the image. You can also display the category of each project. And you can show pagination as well. So for example, if I have 20 projects, but I've only chosen to display 10, well, that's going to create a page that you can flip through to view all the projects if pagination is enabled. So if pagination is enabled and I have 20 projects limited to 10 per page, that's going to create 2 pages of 10 projects each, and I can navigate between those 2 pages. If pagination is disabled, on the other hand, I'll only be able to see the first page. Next is text color, which affects the text color of the title and categories. If you're using a dark background color, you're going to want to have light text, and if you're using a light background color, you're going to want to use dark text, which is my current situation. So I'm going to leave that as dark so that the text is readable. And finally, we have admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, which we won't be using in this tutorial. Now, at any time during the module configuration process, you can get a preview of the module you're working on by clicking the preview icon here. And that's going to render the module inside of its parent section. And so as you see, we have the portfolio module here, displaying 10 projects in grid format. And it's looking nice, but considering that in grid format in a 1-column row, we have 4 projects per row, I would probably want to limit this to 8 instead of 10 so we don't have these 2 widowed projects at the bottom here. So I'm going to go back, change this to 8, and preview it again. Now we have a much nicer layout here, and that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to save it and update the page, and then we can take a look at what we built on the front end. So viewing the page now, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and here we have our portfolio in grid format. And like I said, if I were to click any of these, we'll be brought to the page, the portfolio project page, and you can build these out to be as cool as you want. So here's an example of, a fake project page that we created, which looks really nice. Now there's other formats too. So like I said, you can also choose between grid and full width. So if we were to choose full width, on the other hand, and update the page, it's not going to be in grid format anymore. When we refresh, it's going to have 1 project per row, just like this, which can look nice. It's kind of more like a blog feed. So it just depends what you're trying to do. And on this page, I think this is a little bit much for the page. I'm going to switch back to grid mode. And update the page, and now we're back to grid mode, which is looking great. So that's a basic overview of the standard portfolio module, but as I mentioned in the beginning, the portfolio module can also be used in a full width section. So I'm going to show you how that works right now. I'm going to delete this row section and create a new full width section, and inside that full width section, I'm going to input the full width portfolio module. And much of these settings are the same, except for the layout settings, which can be toggled between grid and carousel. So we have a new option here called carousel. And you can also input a title, which will appear above the portfolio items. So I'm going to give this a preview to show you what it looks like. And here we have a carousel version of the full width portfolio, and it can be slid through like this. And I'm going to exit and save, and we can take a look at that on the front end. Refresh here. And so yeah, we've really changed the appearance here with this full width section, sorry. And it can be slid through like this. So yep, that's a basic overview of the two different variations of the portfolio module, the standard portfolio module and the full width, and also the three different layout settings, standard, carousel, and grid, which all look different and can be very useful in different situations. Now, before I leave, I want to also touch on the advanced design settings very briefly. So I'm going to add back that portfolio module from before. And this time I'm going to adjust a few things in the advanced design settings tab just to show you how that works. And there's so much you can do here. For example, I could adjust the font and font weight and text size of the title font. So if I want to bump this up a little bit, I can see what that looks like quickly in the preview. So here our title has been bumped up in font weight and size, and the font is changed. If I go back to general settings, I can switch to grid view and see how that looks. And you can see here all the titles have been made much larger. And so there's a lot of other stuff you can do here as well. For example, adjusting the zoom icon color. Maybe I want to change it to purple. You can change the overlay color. Maybe from instead of a white, I can change it to more of a dark color. So let's see that effect. You can see, so now when I hover over it, it becomes dark instead of light, and the icon is purple instead of blue. And you can continue to customize absolutely everything about the module, as you can in every single Divi module. So that's a basic overview of the portfolio module as well as the full width portfolio module in the Divi Builder.